Thank you for clicking Sense and Sensibilities, Conversations with Tim and Rod. We're glad you came today. And one of the things we're going to be talking about is that mugging you just received at the breakfast restaurant when you ordered an omelet. I mean, the price of eggs is crazy, Tim.
You know, it's really unbelievable how much we're hearing about eggs in the press, right?
Mm-hmm.
And certainly that if we go to the larger issue of inflation, it is certainly on people's mind. It's the number one topic searched on the internet right now. So maybe we can delve into inflation, what it is, what are some of the components, and try to help folks out in their decision making.
Sure. And watching inflation, of course, falls to the Fed. And they're the ones that kind of try and turn the spigot on in terms of money supply. Started back in over 100 years ago now. And traditionally, inflation's been about what, 3% or so?
Yeah, and what's interesting is that's about where we're at today, and yet it feels like it's quite a burden. And maybe stepping back, you know, coming out of the pandemic, and then in 2022, inflation got to like 8 and 9%. And so while it's come down significantly down to about 3% is the current, which is really, really good, that doesn't mean costs go down. It just means costs are still rising, just at a slower pace.
Right. And they continue to rise. A lot of people think that because inflation fell, that everything's back to normal. And in fact, quite the opposite.
Yeah. And for some of these things, you know, we may have a new normal for price. You may never see that. And one of the big things that hits a lot of consumers is the grocery bill, as you mentioned, and oil or gas. I mean, we generally all eat and drive, and those are two areas that we spend a lot of money on. So a lot of us are feeling it in those two areas.
And so what now? I mean, the Fed is keeping interest rates at about, 6-7%. Does it look like they're going to be coming down anytime soon?
Yeah, I remember in September of 2024, I did a story with another outlet. And at that time, the thought was it was the first of about 6 cuts. And boy, have they changed their tune, right? Because basically inflation has come down, but it's not to where they want to be. And they're trying to balance that with an overall economy that actually is pretty darn good. You know, our GDP is solid. Unemployment is at historical lows. So the last thing they really want to do is decrease rates, because that might push inflation up. And some of us are old enough to remember the 1970s and early 80s inflation, and we don't want any part of that. So it's a delicate balance. But yet what the Federal Reserve does should impact how we think about our investments. And that's something to have a conversation with your advisor about.
Right. And that has to do with taking care of your mix. In other words, bonds versus stocks and the like. And it's something you definitely want to bring up, because you might do well in bonds going forward.
Yeah, so you're always looking at this relative attractiveness between the two asset classes. And there are some folks who think maybe you would get the same or similar returns from your bond side as your stocks with a lot less risk. So again, it's something to have a conversation about. I think it was Yogi Berra who said predictions are always difficult when they're about the future. Right? Nobody knows what the future will bring, but these are healthy conversations to have with your financial advisor.
Right, no doubt about it. And it's something you definitely want to take up soon, because there are opportunities here. And again, if you reduce your risk, you're helping yourself sleep a little better at night, right?
Absolutely. I mean, there is a relationship between risk and reward. There always has been, right? So you want to make sure you're thinking about some of these policies going forward and implement it into your plan, again, without making massive changes.
Right. Only the thing that's going to help you and makes the most sense, but you got to make sure that it's done, with advised consent, no doubt about it.
Absolutely.
All right, Sense and Sensibilities, yet again, we wrapped another one up. Tim, thanks so much. And thank you for joining us.